A few years ago, I had two very small boys. Nick was 4 and Will was 2. I was and still am a full-time out-of-the-house working mama. At that time, I was in an unhappy marriage, struggling to try and make it better and failing because our work schedules meant we would go days without seeing each other. One day bled into another in an exhausted blur, and all I seemed to remember of that time was dishes and laundry, fights over toys and potty training, all by myself and after 9 hours at the office. There was very much work and very little play. I remember constantly feeling like something had to give, which is why I'm glad I started my blog the year before. Because while I can't believe how I ever found time to write anything, period, when I look back through my archives, sometimes I find crazy, beautiful little stories like this one from an unseasonably warm day in February 2009. Temps in the Milwaukee area hit nearly 60 degrees on Tuesday. You'd better believe when we finally get a reprieve from our long, cold winter, we milk it for all it's worth. After work, I decided I'd take my boys to the park down the street. I donned the kids in sweatshirts and rain boots and decided that Will was too big to need a stroller for a 3-block trip. I let them each take one toy, and they both decided on a small basketball. Of course, there are several negotiations as to which ball belonged to whom, over and over and over again. We finally got on our way to the park, where I quickly discovered that in Wisconsin, 60 degrees in February does not feel like 60 degrees in May. There's quite a bit of cold thrown off by those piles of melting snow. We'd only been playing for a few minutes when I saw Will's rosy red cheeks and felt his ice-cold hands. I cursed myself for being a bad mommy with a capital B and decided we should head back home. But getting 2 boys and their toys rounded up when they're at the park for the first time in months is like getting snails to march in a parade. Good luck. After 10 minutes of balls flying this way and boys meandering that, I scooped up the little one, deciding that mud on my jeans from his boots was far easier to handle than being in the park after dark as the temperature dove back down to winter norms. The sun was already setting. We finally got out of the park and were on our way down the street. Nick was happily jumping in every puddle he saw, and Will was twisting around in my arms to watch him. Now that we were on our way and the sidewalk proved a straight path, I tried several times to put Will down. "No, up, Mama," he wailed. I was trying to shift him in my arms to distribute his weight better when the earth may have just as well stopped turning. While running and jumping, Nick fell hard. There was no blood, just slightly scraped and dirty hands, but it didn't matter. There were giant tears, lots of screaming and crying, and general overdramatization. Nick moaned, "Mama, I can't walk." "Oh, hon, you're okay." I set his brother on the sidewalk and squatted down to balance Nick on my knee. I kissed his muddy palms and transferred kisses to his knees with my fingertips. "Let's go home and get an ice pack, okay?" "No, I said I can't walk," he bellowed, a new wave of tears coming, more fierce than the last. Lord in heaven help me. We stood on that sidewalk for several minutes, me trying to convince him we could practically see our house, and him proving he was unambulatory by slinking down to sit and then lay on the dirty, wet sidewalk. I sighed, "Fine, stand up." I gathered up Will and his basketball, which he was trying to retrieve from under a bush. Nick stood, a miracle, and I handed him his ball, which had rolled into the street and come to rest in a puddle next to a cigarette butt and an empty plastic soda bottle. "You guys hold on to your basketballs, okay?" I pulled the strap of my camera case over my head so it sat across my body diagonally. Taking a deep breath, I squatted and thanked my stars for Pilates. If you let go of them, I'm leaving them behind. With a grunt, I picked them both up, straining under the extra 70 pounds. I mentally kicked myself for being so stupid as to think that we could go anywhere without a stroller. Then, while in my arms, gripping their muddy basketballs, my boys hugged each other. I had to laugh. There we were, trudging down a dreary sidewalk, the sun setting, the wind whipping up. My hair was flying around my face, and the mud from their boots was running down the front of my jeans. It was utterly ridiculous, but at the same time utterly delicious. My arms were full of sweet little boys, complete with mud and bruises and scrapes and basketballs, and we were all hugging each other.